maybe overconfidence between Adams and Lasso, and Graham Lasso telling Tony Adams he should have stuck the ball out or well away in the first place.
No, it was sloppy. How often do you see unnecessary corners given away punished?
World Cup final for one, first French goal. Back with Schwarz. Larson jumping. Ljungberg stopped by Owen. And Shearer to do the defensive work in the corner of the penalty area then. Schwarz. Well, he does put his foot in, Stefan Schwarz, and he's no stranger to seeing a yellow card, and he's got one here.
No, the referee's got no option here. Absolutely no option. Stupid foul, halfway in the half, going nowhere. And he's so competitive, he shouldn't be getting himself booked as quickly and as cheaply as that in a game.
I think I'm right in saying he learnt a lot of that sense of competition from Roy Hodgson. Here's the current Sweden coach, Tommy Söderberg. Tommy Svensson had a tremendous record and steered Sweden to third place in the World Cup finals of '94. It's been a case of having to rebuild since then. So they're showing more signs of having cleared their heads from the shock of conceding such an early goal. And here's Mjällby. Ljungberg taking England on. Andreas Andersson goes away off the boot of Campbell.
Well, that's better from Sweden. The first real piece of danger England have had to deal with. They looked a little rocky. It was a good little couple of minutes for Sweden. They kept the pressure up. They got people running at them. They got England back deep into their 18-yard box. Eventually could only scramble it clear. But again, that was down to good movement from the Swedes.
Nielsen. Patrick Anderson. Ball forward for Sweden. Ljungberg, Seaman started to come, decided to leave it to the defenders, and it looked as though it was going to drop invitingly to Pettersson. The referee's given a free kick for a foul by Henrik Larsson.
I'll tell you what Larsson does very well. He's not the biggest, but he does string well. I think he's unlucky here. I think he's really unlucky. I think it was a pretty good challenge. It was a pretty competitive one. But what he did, he got up just a fraction earlier than Tony Adams, and sometimes that makes all the difference. I think they got away with that.
Well, just looking at Tony Adams, wondering with this damaged ankle, which has been described an injury to his good ankle, with a long-term problem in the other ankle, as to whether he's lost a bit of spring. Redknapp coming back. The flag goes up.
Well, he's quick when he tried to sprint back. Well, he's the furthest forward, but as he looks to just turn and play it back, there are two or three of them there coming back. Well, you're right about the Swedes, Martin. They have settled. They look a lot more comfortable. That did rock them, that early goal, as you'd expect it to. But confidence seems to be back, and looking to move the ball and move players as well. They're just guilty, England, a little bit, I think, at the moment. They're dropping too deep, a little bit too early. They're inviting pressure on at the edge of the box. With Anderson and Pedersen, it's always dangerous.
And so having to turn to get there before Andreas Anderson and Henrik Larsson. What's happening? There's space being left for Stefan Schwarz in particular to get the ball at his feet and try and pick a probing pass or two. Throw by Roland Nielsen. goal kick. Free kick to England. Against Cormac. Lost his chance, he was telling me, of starting with Leicester with the signing of Frank Sinclair. From Chelsea. Ljungberg pleasing the crowd with a smart turn, but he was doing it in his own territory, in England trying to bite in and get their challenges to be successful. Well, they really could have pressed on and hurt the opposition. It's David Seaman and Tony Adams who aren't often on the wrong wavelength. A quick throw, a sensible response from Henrik Larsson.
Well, the crowd are just coming to life a little bit, aren't they? A little bit noise and a little bit more belief from them.
Pedersen. He scored 3 in his last 3 internationals. Diverted away by Ince, back by Cormac. Samuel Pedder's gone high rather than away, and needed some further help. She got from Southgate. Here's Lasso. Shearer coming deep. Owen, the furthest man forward. Trying to see if there's any space in behind Sweden's back line. The ball with Anderson. And Ljungberg showing that he's prepared to chase and harry.
Great tracking. An awful lot of players might well have given up there and just let Darren Anderson run onto the fullback, but Ljungberg showing that at this level you've got to work that hard. We've seen it in England players like Sabotin here now, chasing Roland Nielsen back. It's all part and parcel of football.
Larsson and Pedersen. Southgate penalised.
They're just getting a little bit too much joy for my liking, Martin, that the Swedes have been allowed. The back three are dropping off. You see them there, they're only 5 yards outside the 18-yard box. And they've been able to feed balls into Pedersen and Larsson at the edge of the box. And they're starting to get a little bit of joy. And once you front men start to enjoy it, they'll only just be dangerous.
Well, England scored from a free kick. Now they'll be concerned not to let Sweden equalise from one. The left footer is Schwarz. He's the number 6. Everyone back for England. It is Schwarz. Pushed out to Andreas Andersen, and it's bobbled in. David Seaman didn't deal with the shot, so another free kick, another goal, this time to Sweden.
Well, would you believe it? Unbelievable. This is a much better struck free kick. That had great pace, great direction. And the only thing David Seaman doesn't do is get it wide enough, Martin. It's a complete miss-hit from Andreas Andersen. The one thing I will say is he hits the target, but only just. But if he pushes that wide, the goalkeeper, there's no danger. Hits Tony Adams in the backside. All in all, that contributes. The miss-hit here hits into the ground. Yeah, he might even feel he could have gotten the second attempt, David, but it just bounced out of his arms. They've been threatening, they've said, for the last 5 or 10 minutes, they've been growing in confidence. England have been asking for a little bit of trouble. They've backed off too deeply, too quickly, inviting the Swedes to put pressure on at the edge of the box.
Well, Andreas Andersen, who lost his place last weekend in the Newcastle team, has reminded English viewers what he's capable of. A touch of fortune in there for sure. But Stefan Schwarz, who must have hit plenty of free kicks against David Seaman in training in that year they spent as Arsenal players together. It was a venomous strike, and as we were stressing, Sweden clearing their heads, putting their game together, and England now looking far less the side that they were when Alan Shearer's early strike set them off on the right foot.
I'll tell you what, Andres Anderson's just done him a favour there, Martin. Ljungberg made a magnificent run on the left-hand side. He was completely free if Anderson had just fed the ball through to him. Chose to run with it.
Ljungberg. And Henrik Larsson getting there with David Seaman starting to come off his line, thinking better of it. More pressure from Sweden. In goes up Mjällby! Sweden lead by 2-1. Johan Mjällby.
Brilliant reactions, absolutely brilliant. This guy's a centre-back, but those were the reactions of a top striker. So quickly did he react to the ball, springing up off of Paul Scholes. He was making it his again. Movement from Larsson's excellent. Look how deep England are again, so deep. And then when the ball comes in, they don't deal with it. But look how quickly he's onto it. Only takes a touch. A touch is what he got, and David Seaman can do nothing. What a turnaround in this match. But it has been coming.
Well, brought in to stiffen the midfield to get some tackles in, but he's added more than that. 129 seconds between the two Swedish goals. And it started so swimmingly for Glenn Hoddle and his players, courtesy of Alan Shearer. Well, they're floundering at the moment. And another problem. An injury for Darren Anderton.
I don't know whether he just overstretched. Pointing to the knee area. Might just occur it. He goes in, and as he stretches just after this, there he goes to the right. Well, yeah, the knee buckles under him. That's a painful one. Can be ligament damage.
Gary Lewin and Alan Smith, the two England physios, assessing the damage. Darren Anderton, who of course put injury torment to one side to get fit just in time to earn a place in the World Cup squad. He started all the 4 games in France, really re-establishing himself at the top level. Ince, Redknapp. England for the moment down to 10 men. More importantly, they are 2-1 down to Sweden. Pettersson.
That'll be a booking.
Well, it's tough for the tacklers now. They have to get their challenges right. Ince has something to say, but he wasn't favourite to win that cleanly from that angle.
I mean, that's a booking. Paul's arguing, having a go at Pettersson, but he has no case, I'm sorry. He might plead it, but he has none. That's a yellow card, no matter where you play.
Well, that's around a dozen international yellow cards for Ince.
I think it's careful. This is a very delicate stage in the match, man, because the way the Swedes are at the moment, the way the confidence is up, the way England are rattled, they really are shaking. And they're having trouble coping with it, with in particular Anderson, Larsson's running, and Ljungberg.
That's Henrik Larsson, Darren Anderton. Mustn't confuse him with the Andersons. He is back on. Next football live on Sky Sports. Sky Sports 2 tomorrow. Oxford against Portsmouth, Nationwide Division 1. And on Wednesday, yes, Wednesday, Chelsea against Arsenal from the FA Carling Premiership. Sky Sports 1 at 7:30. Kormark, Schwarz, Larsson. Sweden passing it with the poise that England was showing in the early minutes, but not for long enough. How often have you said, Andy, scoring that early can be a mixed blessing?
Well, I think that's what happened to them in many respects, Mark. Now, whether they even now said, all right, we'll protect what we have. But I don't remember an England back line unit, apart from when they were playing Argentina in the World Cup and had to defend deep, drop off as quickly and as early and as deep as they've done and invite the pressure onto the edge of the box. And the Swedes have just risen. They've been, at times when they've had it 40 yards from goal, as you mentioned, Schwartz has had time to look up, to pick passes. He's free in space. And the movement of the four I mentioned, Larsson, Pedersen, Anderson and Ljungberg, has been excellent in free play.
And here's a set play. England in trouble. Fired only at the head of Ince. Ljungberg. Back to Schwartz, who'd taken the free kick, and Pedersen darting away free. The ball wasn't quite good enough, really, to match the run. It's gone out.
Now that's the kind of area they've tried to get it into, and they've looked to run outside one of the three centre-backs just to drag them wide and create a bit of space. As you mentioned before, Martin, this Swedish side, all right, they've had a cuff maybe 3 or 4 years, but this is a side packed with international experience, particularly at the back. When you look at Nielsen, what, 98th cap tonight? Bjorklund 60-odd, Anderson 60-odd, and even Kamark, who's got over 30 caps. That's unbelievable experience at this level.
Just the least experienced is the goalkeeper, who rather showed that early on. He was very nervous, Magnus Hedman, who's, as Coventry fans will tell you, a real athlete, a very promising goalkeeper. 7 clean sheets in his last 11 appearances for the Premiership club. Scholes, Lasso. Now be powering in, not once but twice.
Winning little battles, winning little 50-50s at the moment, the Swedes. And all the little scraps, they just seem to be getting the better.
Roland Nielsen, good movement again from Pedersen, who just ducked into that with maybe an upper arm. Sol Campbell stifling an appeal when he realised that the whistle wasn't going to come. Anderson, how well is he moving? Oh, that's not going to help the injury, is it?
Well, that's the other side of Mjällby, isn't it? That's what he's in this team for, not to score his goals. I mean, I think of all 4 midfield players, he would have been the last you'd have put money on to be in free play, furthest up the pitch and nodding one in. He was, we were led to believe, the destroyer, the one who'll play in front of Anderson and Bjorklund at the back.
The concession to England's strength of Ince and company. But that strength isn't on show at the moment. Schwartz, Roland Nielsen. Sweden's win over England here in '92 took them to a semi-final, which they lost to Germany. England, of course, suffered the same fate as hosts in the European finals 4 years later. Lasso. Adams leaving it to Redknapp. Sweden have shown how a game can be turned around. Now can England do the same? Redknapp.
Well, the answer is they can, but they've got to play a bit better than they've done, Martin. They got the goal, and, well, whether that just lulled them into a false sense of security, England.
Well, it's easy to say after what's happened, but they had 2 choices, really, to sit back and do what they did, or to press on and try and cash in further on what was a very nervy Swedish start.
Well, certainly it looks to be some activity in the England bench.
Pedersen, there's activity in the Sweden attack again as Ljungberg presses on. Lasso sweeps it away, has a look round to say, come on, this isn't quite what we expected. Well, even the Swedish experts here were saying, I can't see where we're going to get a goal. Maybe if we could win the game, it would be 1-0. Here they are leading 2-1.
It just shows you Swedish experts are as bad as we are.
Thank goodness the experts can't be right all the time. And the unpredictability of the game surfacing again. Very high-level example here. Scholes. Pushed away by Cormac. Well, England have lost Darren Anderton. They've got Mr. Versatile Rob Lee to come on just before half-time. So, more injury turmoil for the Tottenham man. On a day of turmoil, it seems, at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
Well, the game suddenly settled a little bit, that frantic pace and a lot of activity from the Swedes. I think they realise they're getting pretty close to half-time. I think they're anxious, and I think Tommy Soderberg will be anxious to get his team in at 2-1 at least, at very worst.
Well, he must be very pleased with the temperament of his players, let alone their talent.
Response was good. You know, they've had a good spell in friendlies. They haven't conceded a goal, so this is a strange time to go 1 down in a match, and the reaction would have absolutely delighted the manager.
And it is his first competitive game in charge of the national team. It's a huge occasion for all connected with this Swedish side. Redknapp, of course, is short of match practice. Start for Liverpool at Newcastle, played well enough. A very good Liverpool performance to attract the eye of Glenn Hoddle. It's a test of his sharpness because he's having to do a lot of chasing now. Björklund. Starts able to just collect it again. To pick out Pettersson. Combination of Campbell and Ince.
Yeah, but that's good play. I mean, if you're dragging Sol Campbell that deep, Martin, that deep away from his other 2 centre-backs, then you're creating space for someone else to run into, and that's what they've had. They've had good movement, good rotation. As I said, right at the top, it's a side that had 4 players in it that were all pretty good moving with and without the ball, and they've showed that.
Well, Andy, you and I were there in St Etienne. England conceded 2 goals in the first half then, but of course managed 2 of their own. Cormac, Larsson, Ljungberg.
So that's wonderful again. They're getting caught. That's great movement all round the front there. Well, I think there's an awful lot of people back in England thought this was a case of England in many respects turning up, Martin, and winning this game, such as the Swedes' poor track record over the last World Cup and the last European Championships. But I think certainly all of us who know a little bit more about Swedish football thought this is not a bad side. They were just coming into a bit of form with some good players in them. I know they lost Kenneth Anderson, and that was good news for Glenn. But I think right on the stroke of half-time, Glenn's got more problems than he probably would have realised or wanted.
And just to compliment Sweden even more, that they did have to make this very late team change. And so, well, England started the half on a positive note. They're trying to finish it in the same style.
You want good delivery now. Jamie Redknapp coming across. It's almost half-time. It's got to be good delivery into an area where your Shearers, your Adams, your Campbells can get and attack it.
The goalkeeper was blocked off. He's complaining.
Well, he was blocked off. That's a certainty. They got that bit right. The England players heading and look as he comes out.
Another corner, and Michael Owen in there to make a nuisance of himself again, and hope more than that might be a knockdown for him to fasten on to. Headed out by Patrick Anderson. A new arrival in the game, Rob Lee. With a free kick, but not to Redknapp.
I thought this might have been obstruction, but obviously the linesman and I weren't quite seeing the same incident. But good closing down, the ball was at Jamie Redknapp, and Henrik Larsson was there in his face instantly, not giving him a chance to put his foot on it, look up and pick a cross out.
Well, Glenn Hoddle, whether he's seen them, but there have been negative news headlines in many of the Saturday morning papers back in England. And so far it's been a negative here as far as the scoreline is concerned. An incident-packed first half. Adams. England began with such authority. They don't have that authority in their play now.
Well, it'll be interesting to hear Roy Hodgson. He knows an awful lot about Swedish football. But he expect this. England's performance.
The first half comes to a close, having begun so brightly for Glenn Hoddle. Alan Shearer with England's first shot at goal in this European campaign. Finding the net. Andreas Andersson, his club colleague at Newcastle, got the equaliser. Magnus Hedman having reached